right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. The Jets are 0-5. This team drains the life out of me every single Sunday, right? Every single week. And it's just like, hey, can we compete this week? Can we go back and forth? Can we not get flagged as much? Can we actually get an interception or fall on a fumble or not shoot ourselves in the foot? And it just never happens, right? And in this one, we have to ask the question. And, within the last 24 hours, I've been asked this question quite a bit. I've seen some people allude to it on social media and whatnot. Have the New York Jets quit? God, already, right? Have the players quit on Aaron Glenn? Have they quit on Steve Wilks? Quit on Tanner Inkster? And by the way, it's raining over here, so if you guys hear raindrops and stuff, that's what it is. There's moments where this team just looks lifeless. There's moments where Steve Wilks actually does have a really good call, really good blitz call, really good call, could be in the red zone, what have you, on third down. And the player that's designed to be in that specific spot to take down the ball carrier just completely whiffs, giving like a half-ass effort. And so, again, a lot of people have alluded, hey, is this Jets team really giving max effort? Glenn is all about leadership. Glenn is all about, kind of being this rah-rah guy. He's supposedly lit up the team after the Miami Dolphins game. And if you listen to people in New Orleans, if you listen to Sean Payton, if you listen to people in Detroit, they've always raved about Aaron Glenn's leadership abilities, about his player-to-coach relationship, and how he always seems to be able to maximize. It's funny, man. Aaron Glenn actually kind of had the reputation of like Rex Ryan back with the Jets. There were moments where Rex is rolling out like Salim Hakeem at corner, right? Like a converted wide receiver now has to go play DB. And, Antonio Allen, it's strong safety, like having to move guys around, trying to, fix things on the fly. Players loved playing for Rex. They loved him. Same thing in Detroit with Glenn. You had so many guys just riding and dying for AG. How is it possible that now in New York, not only is the production not good, but the effort's not good? What the hell is that about? And so I think whenever your favorite NFL team is 0-5, it's fair to start asking questions. Who's to blame? Who's at fault? Why are these things happening? Because the Jets weren't expected to be the worst team. We were not expected to make the playoffs. We were not expected to challenge Buffalo. The over-under from Vegas was 5.5. The Jets were, the team won 5 games last season with stars all over the place. So now we remove those stars. We, add a first-year head coach, a change of quarterback. Of course, there's going to be bumps along the way, this learning experience. I get that completely. But we weren't expected to be the worst team in football. And right now, the Jets are easily one of the worst teams in football. And so, again, it is fair for a fan to ask this question: have the Jets quit? And so this is my take, right? If we look at what's happened so far, I don't necessarily think the team is quit. It just feels like they're very immature. It seems like when something goes wrong, it's like a pout fest. It's poor me, woe is me. We fumble the ball. We have a special teams blunder. We give up a touchdown. And it's just everyone's, it's just not winning football. It's not what playoff football looks like. It's not, championship pedigree. It just looks like a young, immature team that doesn't know how to handle adversity. And I think if the team truly did quit on the coaching staff 5 weeks in, we would be seeing different responses. Garrett Wilson has been up there answering questions like the ultimate professional that he is. You can tell he deeply wants to win. John Simpson was literally crying, in the post-game presser after Sunday's game, literally crying, saying that we're going to turn this thing around. Like, we need to turn this thing around. I don't think that, there would be that level of pride. Like, you're not going to quit on the field, give up on plays, and then act that way in press conferences. I just think that's kind of weird, and it just feels polar opposite. But in the event that the Jets have actually quit on the coaching staff, this might sound crazy. Believe me, I understand that it might sound crazy. If I were to go meet a Bengals fan, if I were to walk down the street and see a Buccaneers fan, whatever, and I say this statement, they're probably going to look at me a little crazy. But I think if the team truly did quit on Aaron Glenn, Steve Wilks and co. through 5 weeks of the NFL season, I honestly think that's more of a detriment to the players themselves. I mean, how many times have we asked this question over the years? Supposedly this team quit on Robert Saleh. They quit on Jeff Ulbrich when he took over. They quit on Nathaniel Hackett. They quit on Todd Downing when he took over. And now they're quitting on Aaron Glenn and Steve Wilkes. The reason why I don't bring up Adam Gase and Greg Williams is because the team is completely different from that era. This is like Joe Douglas's team that he's built. In other words, you have pretty much, the bulk of the roster remains the same, quitting on every head coach since they were brought in that 2021-ish season, right? It's 2025 now. So over the last 4 years, we've literally had the players quit on Saleh, quit on Ulbrich, again, Downing, Hackett, and now Glenn and Wilkes. Like, at what point do we look at the players and say, do we have, is this a roster that just simply can't handle adversity? I know it's easy to look at the coaching staff and say, okay, he sucks, this guy sucks, fire him. I mean, let's just say that, I don't think this is going to happen, but let's just say if the Jets were to fire Aaron Glenn, and we're going through the process again, interviewing Matt Nagy, interviewing Arthur Smith, interviewing all these different guys, what coach is going to come in, not only just have immediate success, but if they do start losing, who's to say that these same group of players won't just quit again? They've done it over and over and over. Why wouldn't they do it again? So I think, for me, I'm not going to go as far as to say this Jets team quit on Aaron Glenn through 5 weeks. But if they did, if they just so happen to actually just mail it in for the rest of the season, I mean, man, I just don't think it's a good look on the roster. Of course, it's not saying that the coaching staff is doing everything right, because the team ultimately is 0-5. And you're seeing teams with not as much talent as the New York Jets, New Orleans Saints, Carolina Panthers. They're hanging in games. They've actually won a game or two. But for me, I just don't think it's fair to say, okay, you know what? Missed tackles, penalties, lack of takeaways, shooting yourselves in the foot. I mean, these are all things that we've been talking about for years, man. At what point do we look at the roster and say, you know what? There's only so many things that the coaches can do from the sidelines. The players got to execute. We've heard Steve Wilkes literally call out the defense. I don't necessarily think that Steve Wilkes trying to save himself in the weekly presser from getting negative headlines. People are going to talk about the defense anyway. You just look at the ranks. Yeah, Wilkes is obviously, one to blame in this whole situation, but he's talked about executing. He's talked about, hey, there's plays that are being called and the players are not making them. I go back and I watch the All-22 when I feel like it's needed. And there are moments where Ingstrand is calling the right play and you don't have the players execute. And I understand that, it's kind of taboo to say that, right? Didn't execute. Got to watch the tape. It's just like all coach speak at the end of the day. But if you're a coach and you call the play at the right time in the right moment, and that player's in the position to make a play, and he goes in for, an arm tackle where instead of squaring up with the opponent, they are literally moving out of the way to put their arm out to try to wrap up their legs. There's only, and the ball carrier just runs right by him. There's only so much that you can do if you're Wilkes. I mean, Ulbrich had the tackling seminar. It didn't do anything. He got back to basics and had an NFL regular season tackling seminar midway through a professional football season. And it didn't even help. And now we have Glenn coming in with new coaches, new play callers, new systems. And the tackling is just as bad. So I don't know if the Jets players have quit on Glenn. I'm going to say no. But even if they did, I think it's more of an indictment on the roster itself as opposed to the coaching staff. But that's just my 2 cents. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. I mean, it sounds crazy to say, like, hopefully we get back on track against Denver this week, especially coming off the win against Philly. They looked awesome with the comeback. But I guess it's a London game. Anything can happen. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. By the way, the Jets are 0-5, and you guys are hanging out watching these videos, man. Best fans in the world. Love you guys. Thanks so much, and as always, go Jets.